great majority of the companies that I work with have a very clear idea of what their clients' needs are, and they have a very good strategy in place in order to fulfill those needs. And so they decide to invest in leadership development, thinking that this will be enough to guarantee a successful execution of the strategy. But instead, it doesn't work that way, because the very best business strategy in the world can be absolutely neutralized by a company culture and a set of internal policies that work against it. So what do you need to do? You need to make everybody clear about what is the strategy, and then work on getting alignment between the culture and the policies and the leadership. And then everybody's moving in the same direction. If you want to change elements of your culture and your leadership, first of all, you need to know what your culture is and what type of leadership you need in order to execute your strategy. In other words, you need to know yourself. However, what I actually see out there in the companies are companies that don't know themselves. They are not aware exactly what their culture is, nor of the impact that their internal policies have. I find teams that don't know it themselves, and I find individuals who are not aware of the type of leadership they practice and the impact that has on their people. So I ask myself, if you want to get alignment between your strategy, your culture, your internal policies and your leadership, if you don't know what they are, how can you do it? You can't. So what we really do is actually help organizations increase their self-knowledge so that they can make the transformations necessary to guarantee their survival. In order to do this, we basically do two things. Firstly, a series of processes, methodologies and programs which help the teams and the individuals and the company identify the changes we want to make and make the changes. And secondly, we have a very, very diverse team capable of working on the alignment but also developing the leadership. As I said before, I'm not seeing a great problem with the strategy in itself. On the contrary, among our clients, I find senior management teams full of very, very smart people who are very good at designing the strategy. What they're not so good at, perhaps, is communicating that strategy and making sure that everybody in the organization knows it. So for this, we have two people, Jesus Izquierdo, who has many years in strategical consultancy and knows a lot of processes which help our clients communicate very clearly what the strategy is. And we have an ex-CEO, Pepe Cela, one of Spain's most brilliant CEOs, who was particularly brilliant at aligning the strategy with the leadership and with the culture, and making sure that everybody knew exactly what the strategy was. So this is what we help our clients do. The organizational culture needs to support the strategy, but in order to do that, firstly you need to know what the culture is, and secondly, get a large number of people involved in making the necessary changes. To do that, you need tools which can accurately measure what the culture is, and secondly, what I would call large-scale conversation process to get many people involved in making the necessary changes. We have two people with a lot of experience, Keith Caver and Chado Juan, who I would say are architect of bringing a lot of people together and managing a process which gets everybody involved in making the necessary changes to the culture so that it supports the strategy instead of working against it. Another element that you need to align with the business strategy is, of course, the internal policies. So what you need here are very good processes capable of identifying clearly what the present policies, or what the impact the present policies are causing on the organization. Here we are lucky enough to have two great professionals, Carlos Pellegrin and Gustavo Aguilar, who have years of experience in human resources in large organizations and who are experts in adapting the internal policies so that they support the strategy instead of undermining it. Leadership for me is still the most important ingredient. It is the motor of everything. So companies really do need to develop it. And I still am absolutely convinced that the best way to do that is through leadership development programs supported by individual coaching. And strangely enough, what you need to do in those programs is not that different to what you do when you're trying to get alignment between the strategy and the internal policies and the culture. You really need to clarify with the participants what are the most important changes their organization is trying to make. And then, once you've got that clear, you need to work with them on a process in which they have to answer four pretty basic questions for themselves about their leadership. Firstly, what are the most important leadership actions for them? What do they need to achieve through their leadership? Second, how are they going with that? Where are they with that? Third, what specific behaviors and actions do they need to reinforce, and which ones do they need to change? And finally, they need to address three very important things in leadership. How are they going to develop their people? How are they going to get their commitment? And how are they going to get better performance? What the leadership program and the coaching needs to achieve is, at the end of the day, every participant is absolutely clear of what specific behaviors they are going to work on and improve. Sometimes the final transformation happens in the coaching, but at the end of the process, they need to be able to carry out those changes. We really believe in this integrated approach, getting the alignment while at the same time working on the leadership development. But in order to do that, you need a great variety of processes and a team of professionals who are truly diverse. And that's exactly what we have.